Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Code Your English. I am really happy to have you here with me today. I hope you are doing well, and I hope you are ready to learn something new in a simple and relaxing way. Today, I want to tell you something a little special. We are starting a new type of series on this channel. I like to call it the Why series. In this series, we will explore different questions that start with the word why. We will try to understand human behavior, emotions, habits, and real-life situations in a very simple and clear way. For example, we will talk about why something is good, why something is difficult, or why something happens in our daily lives. The goal is not only to improve your English, but also to help you understand life in a deeper and easier way. So, in this new series, we are not just learning English words. We are also learning ideas, emotions, and real human experiences. Everything will be explained in simple English so that B1 learners can easily follow, understand, and improve their listening and speaking skills at the same time. And today, we are starting this series with a very powerful and important topic. We are going to talk about trust. More specifically, we are going to understand this question. Why is trust so hard to rebuild? This is something almost everyone experiences in life at some point. Trust is a big part of relationships, friendships, and even family life. But when it breaks, fixing it is not simple. So, in this episode, we will explore this topic step by step in a very clear and easy way. So, let's begin our first episode of the Why series here on Code Your English. Today, we are going to talk about a very deep and important topic in human life. It is something we all experience at some point. The topic is trust, and more specifically, why trust is so hard to rebuild once it is broken. Think for a moment. Have you ever trusted someone deeply and then felt disappointed later? Maybe a friend did not keep a promise. Maybe someone told you something that was not true. Or maybe someone important to you hurt your feelings in a way you did not expect. If this has ever happened to you, then you already understand how powerful trust is in our lives. Trust is not just a small feeling. It is something that connects people. It helps relationships stay strong. It helps us feel safe with others. But when trust breaks, everything can change very quickly. Even if people try to fix it, it is never the same as before. And this is where our main question comes in today. Why is trust so hard to rebuild? In this episode, we will explore this question in a very simple way. We will talk about what trust really means, how it is built, how it gets broken, and most importantly, why it is so difficult to bring it back again. We will also understand the emotional side of trust, because trust is not only about actions, it is also about feelings. So, stay with me until the end of this episode. I hope this will help you not only improve your English listening skills, but also help you understand human relationships a little better. Let's begin this journey together here on Code Your English. What is trust? Before we understand why trust is hard to rebuild, we first need to clearly understand what trust really means. Because sometimes we use this word in daily life, but we do not stop and think about its real meaning. In very simple words, trust means feeling safe with someone. It means you believe that a person will not hurt you, will not lie to you, and will try to do the right thing with you. When you trust someone, you do not feel worried about their actions. You feel calm, relaxed, and secure around them. Trust is like a quiet feeling inside your mind that says, this person is safe for me. For example, think about a close friend. If you tell your friend a secret, you are trusting them. You believe they will not share your secret with others. You feel safe telling them something personal. That feeling of safety is trust. If your friend keeps your secret, your trust becomes stronger. But if your friend shares it with others, that trust becomes weaker or even breaks. We also trust our family members in many ways. For example, you may trust your parents to take care of you when you are sick. You may trust your brother or sister to support you when you are in trouble. You may trust them to be honest with you and stand by your side. This is also trust. It is not always something we say out loud, but it is something we feel in daily life. Trust is not only about big actions. It can also be in small things. For example, trusting someone to be on time, trusting someone to tell the truth, trusting someone to keep a promise. These small actions build the foundation of trust between people. So, trust is basically a feeling of safety, belief, and confidence in another person. It is what makes relationships strong and meaningful. Without trust, it becomes difficult to feel close to someone. But with trust, even simple relationships can become very strong and beautiful. Now that we clearly understand what trust is, in the next part, we will look at how trust is actually built in the first place, and why it takes time to grow. How trust is built before it breaks. Before we talk about why trust is hard to rebuild, it is important to understand something very simple but very important. Trust is not something that appears instantly. It is something that grows slowly, step by step, through time and experience. Trust is built little by little through small actions in everyday life. It does not come from one big moment or one big promise. Instead, it comes from repeated behavior that shows a person is honest, reliable, and caring. When someone is honest with us, even in small things, we start to feel that we can believe their words. Honesty is one of the strongest foundations of trust, because when people tell the truth, we feel safe with them. Another important part of building trust is keeping promises. When someone says they will do something and they actually do it, it creates a strong feeling of reliability. For example, if a friend says, "I will call you tomorrow," and they really call you, that small action builds trust. But if promises are broken again and again, trust becomes weaker over time. So, keeping promises is not a small thing. It is a very important part of building strong relationships. Kindness also plays a big role in building trust. When someone treats us with respect, support, and care, we naturally start to feel safe around them. Kind actions make us feel valued and understood. Even simple things like listening carefully, helping when someone is in trouble, or speaking in a gentle way can slowly build trust between people. It is also important to understand that trust takes time. It is not something you can build in one day or even in one week. It grows slowly, like a plant. You need patience, consistency, and effort. Every honest action, every kept promise, and every kind behavior adds a small piece to the foundation of trust. Over time, these small pieces become something strong and stable. So, trust is not created quickly. It's built step by step through honesty, keeping promises, and kindness. It needs time to grow, and that is why it becomes so valuable in our lives. The longer it takes to build, the stronger and deeper it can become when it is real and genuine. Now that we understand how trust is built, in the next part, we will explore what happens when trust is broken and why it affects people so deeply. How trust gets broken. Trust can take a long time to build, but it can be broken very quickly. This is something many people experience in their life, and it often happens in simple situations. When trust is broken, it means that someone did not act in a way that we expected or believed they would. It feels like the safe feeling we had with that person suddenly disappears. One of the most common ways trust gets broken is through lying. When someone tells a lie, even if it is a small one, it creates doubt in our mind. We start asking ourselves, if they lied about this, what else could they be hiding? Lying makes it difficult to believe a person's words again because honesty is the base of trust. Once that base becomes weak, everything built on it also becomes unstable. Another way trust gets broken is when someone breaks a promise. A promise is like a small agreement between two people. When someone says they will do something and they do not do it, it can feel disappointing. For example, if a friend promises to help you but does not show up, you may feel let down. Over time, if promises are broken again and again, trust starts to disappear because actions no longer match words. Trust is also broken when someone hides the truth. This does not always mean lying directly, but it means not being honest or not sharing important information. When people find out that something was hidden from them, they often feel shocked or betrayed. It creates a feeling that the reality was different from what they believed, and this can deeply affect the relationship. When trust is broken, the emotional impact can be very strong. People often feel hurt because they believed in someone and that belief was not respected. There is also confusion because they may not understand why it happened. Sadness is another common feeling, especially when the relationship was close or important. In some cases, people also feel anger or disappointment because they expected honesty and care, but instead experience the opposite. Sometimes, broken trust can even change the way we see a person completely. Even if the mistake was small, the emotional impact can feel big. It can make people more careful, more distant, and less open in the future. So, trust gets broken through actions like lying, breaking promises, and hiding the truth. These actions may seem small at first, but they can create strong emotional pain and change relationships deeply. Why broken trust hurts so much. When trust is broken, it does not only affect what we think about a person, it also affects how we feel inside. That is why broken trust often hurts so much. It is not just about actions or words. It is about emotions, expectations, and the connection we had with someone. One of the main reasons it hurts is disappointment. When we trust someone, we expect them to act in a certain way. We believe they will be honest, kind, or careful with our feelings. But when they do something different, that expectation is broken. This gap between what we expected and what actually happened creates deep disappointment. It feels like something inside us did not go as planned, and that feeling can be painful. Sadness is another strong emotion that comes with broken trust. We feel sad because we cared about the person. If we did not care, we would not feel hurt. So sadness is actually a sign that the relationship meant something to us. Sometimes this sadness is quiet, and sometimes it feels heavy. People may think about what happened again and again, and this can make the feeling even stronger. Confusion is also very common. After trust is broken, people often ask questions in their mind like, "Why did this happen?" Or, "Was I wrong to trust this person?" Or, "Did I miss something?" This confusion makes the situation even harder, because the mind tries to understand something that does not feel clear anymore. When things do not make sense, it becomes difficult to move on quickly. Another important thing to understand is that broken trust changes how we see the person. Before the trust was broken, we may have seen them as honest, reliable, or kind. But after the trust is broken, that image starts to change. Even if the person is still the same, our mind does not see them in the same way anymore. We may start to question their actions or feel less safe around them. This change in perception is one of the strongest impacts of broken trust. So, broken trust hurts so much because it affects our emotions deeply. It brings disappointment, sadness, and confusion, and it changes the way we see a person we once believed in. This is why rebuilding trust is not only about fixing actions, but also about healing emotions, which takes time and patience. Main question: why is trust hard to rebuild? Now that we understand what trust is, how it is built, and how it can be broken, we come to the most important question of this episode. This is the main idea we are trying to understand today. Why is trust so hard to rebuild? When trust is broken, many people think it can be fixed quickly with a simple apology or a promise to change. But in real life, it is not that simple. Rebuilding trust is not just about saying the right words. It is about rebuilding feelings, repairing emotional damage, and slowly restoring a sense of safety between two people. That is why it takes much more time and effort than building trust the first time. In this part of the episode, we will go deeper into this idea. We will try to understand what really happens in the human mind and heart after trust is broken. We will explore why people become more careful, why they find it difficult to believe again, and why even small doubts can stay for a long time. This is the most important part of our discussion because it explains the emotional truth behind relationships. When trust breaks, something changes inside us. It is not only about the event that happened, but also about how we see the person from that moment onward. Even if the situation is solved on the surface, the feeling inside may still be weak or unstable. That is why rebuilding trust is not a quick process. It requires patience, consistency, and time. It is also important to understand that everyone experiences broken trust differently. Some people may try to forgive quickly, but still feel unsure inside. Others may need a long time before they can even think about trusting again. There is no fixed rule for healing trust because emotions are not simple or predictable. So in this section, we are going to slow down and really focus on the deeper reasons behind this question. We are not just looking at actions anymore. We are looking at feelings, memories, fear, and human behavior. These things are the real reasons why trust is difficult to rebuild. This is the heart of our episode. So take your time with it, listen carefully, and think about your own experiences as well. In the next parts, we will break this question into clear and simple reasons, so everything becomes even easier to understand. Reason 1. Fear of being hurt again. One of the biggest reasons why trust is hard to rebuild is fear. After someone gets hurt, their mind and heart naturally try to protect them from the same pain happening again. This fear becomes stronger than words, promises, or even good intentions. It quietly changes the way people think, feel, and behave in a relationship. When trust is broken, a person does not only remember what happened, they also remember how it felt. That emotional pain creates a kind of warning inside the mind. So even if the other person says, "I will never do it again," the mind still asks, "What if it happens again?" This is how fear slowly builds up. It is not something people choose, it is something they feel naturally as a way of protecting themselves. Because of this fear, people become more careful. They start to observe everything closely. They may pay attention to small actions, small changes in tone, or even small delays in responses. Things that used to feel normal now feel important or suspicious. This careful behavior is not because they want to doubt the other person, but because they do not want to get hurt again. People also start to protect themselves emotionally. This means they do not open their heart as easily as before. They may not share their feelings freely, or they may keep some distance in the relationship. Even if they still care about the person, they hold back a little bit to avoid getting too attached again. This emotional protection becomes a barrier between two people, even when they want things to be normal. For example, imagine a friendship where one person lied about something important. After that, even if they become honest again, the other friend may still feel unsure. If that friend says they are busy and cannot reply for a few hours, the other person might start overthinking. They may wonder, are they really busy? Or are they hiding something again? This does not happen because they want to think negatively, but because their mind is trying to avoid the same pain they felt before. So, fear of being hurt again is a powerful reason why trust is hard to rebuild. It makes people careful, emotionally guarded, and sometimes even distant. Until this fear slowly becomes smaller, trust cannot fully return to how it was before. Reason 2. Actions speak louder than words. Another important reason why trust is hard to rebuild is because words alone are not enough. When trust is broken, people stop believing only in what they hear, and they start focusing more on what they see. This is where the idea comes from. Actions speak louder than words. After someone breaks trust, they may say sorry. They may promise that they will change. They may explain that it will not happen again. But in that moment, the other person is often still unsure. This is because a simple apology cannot erase the past experience. Words can express feelings, but they cannot immediately rebuild confidence. That is why saying sorry is not enough on its own. People need time to see real change. Trust is rebuilt through consistent actions, not quick promises. For example, if someone broke trust by lying, then rebuilding trust means they must show honesty again and again over time. One honest action is not enough. It has to happen repeatedly until the other person slowly starts to believe again. This process cannot be rushed. Trust also needs proof. This proof does not come from speeches or explanations. It comes from behavior in real-life situations. When a person keeps their promises, tells the truth, and behaves in a reliable way again and again, it slowly creates a new sense of safety. The mind starts to think, maybe this person is changing. But this belief only grows with time and repetition. For example, imagine someone broke trust by not keeping their word. Later they say, I will always be responsible now. Even if they say this with honesty, the other person will still wait and watch. If they continue to act responsibly every day, trust may slowly return. But if they fail again, even once, it can bring back all the old doubts. So, actions are stronger than words because they show real behavior, not just intentions. Trust is rebuilt when actions match promises over a long period of time. Without consistent actions, words remain just words, and trust cannot fully grow again. Reason 3. Time changes. Feelings slowly. Another very important reason why trust is hard to rebuild is time. Time plays a powerful role in healing emotions, and without enough time, trust cannot grow again in a natural way. When trust is broken, people often wish things could go back to normal quickly, but in real life, emotional healing does not work that fast. Healing takes time because emotions do not change instantly. Even when someone says sorry and tries to fix their mistake, the other person still remembers what happened. The mind does not erase painful experiences quickly. Instead, it holds them for a while. Over time, these memories may become less intense, but they do not disappear immediately. This is why trust needs patience. Trust cannot come back quickly because it is not just about logic, it is about feelings. A person might understand in their mind that the other person has changed, but their heart may still feel unsure. This creates a slow process where the mind is trying to accept something new, while emotions are still connected to the past. Because of this, rebuilding trust becomes a gradual journey, not a fast decision. Even small doubts can stay for a long time after trust is broken. For example, even if everything seems fine again, a person might still think, "What if it happens again?" These small thoughts may not be strong every day, but they appear from time to time. They are quiet reminders of the past hurt, and they can slow down the process of rebuilding trust. For instance, imagine someone was disappointed by a close friend. Even after the friend starts behaving better, the person may still feel a little unsure when something unusual happens, like a delayed message or a change in plans. Even if there is no real problem, the old memory can still create a small doubt. This shows how deeply time and memory are connected to trust. So, time is very important in rebuilding trust. It allows emotions to calm down, memories to become less painful, and new experiences to slowly replace old hurt. Without enough time, trust cannot fully recover, no matter how good the intentions are. Reason 4. Memory of pain. Another strong reason why trust is hard to rebuild is the memory of pain. When someone gets hurt, the mind does not only remember what happened, it also remembers how it felt. These emotional memories stay for a long time, even after the situation is over, and even after an apology is given. People may forgive, but they still remember. This is a very important point to understand. Forgiving someone does not always mean forgetting what happened. The mind keeps a record of emotional experiences, especially the painful ones. So even if a person says, "I am sorry," and even if the relationship continues, the memory of the hurt is still there in the background. This memory of pain makes rebuilding trust more difficult because it creates hesitation inside the heart. For example, a person may want to trust again, but a small part of their mind remembers the past and says, "Be careful." This creates a kind of inner conflict. One part of the person wants to move forward, but another part is still holding on to what happened before. Even after an apology, the memory does not disappear. Words can heal feelings to some extent, but they cannot erase past experiences. This is why trust cannot return instantly. The mind needs new positive experiences to slowly replace the old painful ones. Without enough new experiences, the old memory stays stronger. For example, if someone broke trust by lying, the other person will always remember that moment of dishonesty. Even if the person becomes honest later, the memory of that lie can still come back in certain situations. If something similar happens again, even in a small way, the old memory becomes active again and brings back the same feelings of hurt. This is why rebuilding trust requires not only time and actions, but also emotional healing. The memory of pain slowly becomes weaker when a person experiences consistency, honesty, and care over a long period. But it never disappears completely in most cases. Instead, it becomes softer and less powerful over time. So, the memory of pain is a deep reason why trust is hard to rebuild. It reminds people of what went wrong in the past, and it makes them more careful in the present. Until these emotional memories become less strong, trust will always take time to fully return. Can trust be rebuilt? After understanding all the reasons why trust is hard to rebuild, a natural question comes into our mind. Can trust be rebuilt at all? The simple answer is yes, but it is not easy, and it does not happen quickly. Trust can be rebuilt, but it needs time, effort, and emotional understanding from both sides. When trust is broken, it may feel like everything is lost, but in reality, not all trust disappears forever. In many situations, people are able to rebuild relationships again, even after serious mistakes. However, the new trust is not the same as before. It is usually more careful, more slow, and more sensitive. It grows step by step, not all at once. One of the most important things needed to rebuild trust is honesty. After trust is broken, honesty becomes even more important than before. A person must be open about their actions and their intentions. There should be no hiding, no confusion, and no mixed messages. When honesty is consistent, it slowly helps the other person feel safe again. It shows that things are now different from the past. Patience is also very important. Rebuilding trust cannot be rushed. The person who was hurt needs time to heal emotionally. Even if the other person is trying to change, the healing process takes its own time. Patience means accepting that progress may be slow and sometimes not visible immediately. But even small improvements are meaningful in this process. Consistency is another key factor. One good action is not enough to rebuild trust. People need to see good behavior again and again over time. When actions stay stable and predictable, the mind starts to relax slowly. It begins to believe that the change is real and not temporary. Consistency is what turns hope into real trust again. It is also important to understand that not all trust is lost forever. Some relationships cannot be repaired, but many can be healed with effort and time. It depends on the situation, the level of hurt, and the willingness of both people. In many cases, trust becomes different, but still exists in a stronger and more mature way. So yes, trust can be rebuilt, but it is a slow and careful process. It needs honesty, patience, and consistency. When these three things are present, even broken trust can slowly turn into something stable again. As we come to the end of this episode, let's take a quiet moment to reflect on everything we have talked about today. Trust is something very fragile, but at the same time, it is one of the most important parts of human relationships. It connects people, it builds safety, and it creates emotional bonds. But because it is so delicate, it can also break very easily, sometimes with just a single action or mistake. We also learned that people are not perfect. Everyone makes mistakes in life. Sometimes we hurt others without even realizing it, and sometimes we are the ones who get hurt. But even after mistakes, there is always a possibility to learn and grow. A broken moment does not always mean a broken future. In many cases, people can understand their mistakes, change their behavior, and slowly rebuild what was lost. Forgiveness is also a very important part of this journey. But forgiveness is not something that happens instantly. It takes time, and it also takes courage. It is not always easy to forgive someone who has hurt us, because the memory of pain is still there. However, when people choose forgiveness, they are also choosing peace for themselves. It is a slow process, and it requires emotional strength from both sides. At the same time, rebuilding trust is not only about the person who made the mistake, it is also about the person who was hurt. Both sides need time, understanding, and patience. Trust can only grow again when there is honesty, consistency, and a real effort to change. Even then, it may not become exactly the same as before, but it can still become strong in a new and different way. Now, before we finish, I want to thank you for listening to this episode on Code Your English. I really appreciate your time and your effort in improving your English through listening. You are doing something very valuable for yourself, and I hope you continue this journey every day. I also want to encourage you to keep practicing your English regularly. Even small practice every day can make a big difference over time. Listen, speak, repeat, and try to understand new ideas in English. Step by step, you will become better and more confident. And finally, I want to leave you with a simple question to think about. Have you ever experienced a situation where trust was broken and then rebuilt in your life? Take a moment and reflect on it. Thank you again for being here with me today. I hope to see you in the next episode of Code Your English. Take care and keep learning.